The video call began exactly at 6:47 in the evening on a Tuesday. My mother's face appeared on the screen right away. She always had a serious look when she wanted something done her way. It was the kind of face that meant she had already decided everything, and now she expected everyone else to just agree. "We need to talk about Thanksgiving plans," she said without even greeting me. I was sitting in my home office. I was still wearing my work clothes because I had just finished a long day. My blazer was on the back of my chair. My feet were slightly tired. Behind me, in the kitchen, my 7-year-old daughter Lila was sitting at the table. She was doing her homework carefully, writing slowly with her pencil, trying her best to solve math problems. I turned my chair a little so I could see both the screen and her. "Okay," I said gently. "What are the plans this year?" My mother adjusted her glasses and spoke like she was giving an important speech. "Your father and I are hosting Thanksgiving at our house, as always. 25 guests are confirmed." I nodded slowly, waiting. Then her voice changed. It became more serious, more proud. "But this year is very important. We have very special guests coming." She leaned closer to the camera like she was sharing a secret. "The Henderson family will be there. You know Adrian Henderson from Henderson Capital. And the Montgomery family, too. Victoria Montgomery sits on several big company boards." I gave a small, polite smile. "That sounds nice," I said. But inside, I already felt like something strange was coming. My mother straightened her posture. "So everything must be perfect. Very elegant. Very quiet. Very sophisticated. Do you understand what I mean?" I paused. "Not really," I said honestly. She sighed like I was being difficult on purpose. "Leave your daughter at home." For a second, I didn't say anything. I thought maybe I misunderstood her. "What did you say?" I asked carefully. "She cannot come," my mother repeated. "Rich and important people will be there. We cannot have a child running around, making noise, or interrupting serious conversations. This is about business. About connections. About your brother's future." I felt my fingers tighten slightly around the arm of my chair, but I kept my voice calm. "You want me to leave Lila at home on Thanksgiving?" "Yes," she said like it was the most normal thing in the world. "You can get a babysitter. Or ask your friend, the single one. She probably has time." She waved her hand like it was not important. "This dinner is for networking. Very high-level people. A child does not fit the atmosphere." I looked past the screen for a moment. Behind my mother, I could see my father sitting quietly. He did not say anything. My brother Daniel was also there, standing behind her shoulder. "It's really for the best," Daniel said. "These are serious business people. We don't want distractions." My mother nodded like everyone agreed. "Your sister already arranged childcare for her children," she added. "She understands how important this is." I turned my head slightly and looked at Lila again. She was completely focused on her homework, her tongue slightly out in concentration as she added numbers. She had no idea what was being discussed about her. Something strange and cold settled in my chest. It wasn't anger yet. It was more like disappointment mixed with disbelief. I looked back at the screen. "Okay," I said quietly. My mother blinked, surprised. "Oh, good," she said, smiling now. "I'm glad you are being reasonable." She looked satisfied, like she had solved a problem. "Dinner is at 3 o'clock sharp. Dress nicely. Cocktail attire. And please try to participate in conversations. Adrian Henderson is very interested in new markets." "I'll try my best," I said. "Perfect," she said happily. "This is going to be such an elegant Thanksgiving." Then the call ended. The screen went dark. For a few seconds, I just sat there without moving. I didn't say anything. I just listened to the quiet of the room. Then I stood up and walked over to Lila. She looked up at me and smiled. "Was that Grandma?" she asked. "Yes," I said softly. "Are we going to their house for Thanksgiving?" I gently brushed her hair back from her face. "How would you feel about having our own Thanksgiving this year?" I asked. Lila tilted her head. "Just us?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Just you and me. We can do anything you want." Her face slowly changed from confusion to excitement. "Anything?" she asked again, making sure. "Anything," I repeated. Her eyes got big. "Can we have pizza instead of turkey?" I laughed softly. "Yes, pizza instead of turkey. And can we watch movies all day?" "Yes, all day." She suddenly jumped up from her chair and hugged me tightly. "That sounds amazing," she said. "Way better than boring grown-up dinners." I hugged her back and kissed her head. "Then it's our plan," I said. But inside, I still thought about what my mother had said. Not because I was going to argue, but because I couldn't believe she thought it was okay. The next 3 weeks passed normally on the outside. My mother kept sending messages almost every day. She talked about food, decorations, fancy wine, flowers, and seating arrangements. Every message sounded more intense than the last. My brother Daniel called me a few times to thank me for understanding, and also to talk about how he was going to impress the guests. He kept practicing business phrases like he was preparing for a performance. My sister Alina sent short messages like, "Mom's idea, not mine," but she still followed along. I replied politely to everything. I said I was looking forward to it. I asked small questions about food. I acted like everything was normal. But behind the scenes, something else was happening in my life. For months, my company had been preparing a very big announcement. It was something we had worked on for a long time. Many people had helped build it carefully. We planned the timing very carefully too. We chose the day before Thanksgiving because news is usually quieter then, and big stories get more attention. My team suggested waiting, but I decided not to. On Wednesday morning at exactly 9 a.m., the announcement went live everywhere. Within minutes, everything changed. At first, only business websites talked about it. Then social media picked it up. Then television news channels started reporting it. By 9:30, it was everywhere. By 10 o'clock, it was on major news programs. My phone started ringing nonstop. My assistant came into my office looking shocked. "You are all over the news," he said. "Forbes just updated your ranking. You are now much higher on the billionaire list. Your company value just increased massively." I nodded calmly. "Okay," I said. But the world outside my office was going crazy. Old classmates started texting me. People I hadn't heard from in years suddenly remembered me. Former coworkers, investors, and business contacts all tried to reach me. But my family was quiet at first. Then it started. My phone began to ring again and again. My assistant walked in again. "Your mother has called 4 times, he said. "I'll call her later," I said. He nodded and left. By noon, the news had changed from just business reports to personal stories. People started writing about me as a single mother who built a big company while raising a child quietly. They found old photos of me from school and college. They even found an old interview where I talked about balancing motherhood and work. My phone now showed dozens of missed calls from my family. Messages started coming in fast. "My brother. Is this real? My sister. Mom is going crazy. Why didn't you tell us? My father. We need to talk." My mother. Many missed calls, no messages. I turned my phone on silent. That afternoon, I picked Lila up from school like always. We went to get ice cream. She chose a big cone with chocolate and strawberry. She was very happy. We walked in the park slowly. She told me about a classmate's new puppy and how she wanted to visit an animal shelter. We talked about normal things. Simple things. Happy things. She didn't know anything about news or companies or attention. And I liked it that way. When we got home, I cooked dinner. We ate together. We watched a documentary about penguins. Lila laughed at how they wobbled when they walked. After that, I read her bedtime stories. 3 chapters, just like she liked. At 8:30, she fell asleep. Only then did I finally look at my phone. There were so many messages and missed calls that it felt overwhelming. The screen was full of notifications. My family had clearly realized everything. But I did not call back that night. I just sat quietly for a while, thinking about my daughter sleeping peacefully in the next room, and how Thanksgiving this year would be very different from what anyone expected. My mom had somehow discovered social media. Suddenly she was everywhere online. She was on Instagram, sending messages on Facebook, and even my brother had sent her a LinkedIn connection request. It felt like my whole family had entered a world I had been living in quietly for a long time, but now they were shocked by it. I only listened to one voicemail, the newest one from my mom. Her voice sounded very angry and upset. She said, "I don't know what game you think you are playing, but this is so embarrassing. Everyone is calling me. I didn't even know my own daughter was running such a huge company. Adrian Henderson sent me an article asking if I am proud." Proud? I didn't even know anything about this. How could you embarrass this family like this? Call me back right now. We need to fix this before Thanksgiving. After hearing that, I felt tired inside. It wasn't happiness or sadness, just a heavy feeling like I didn't want to deal with any of it. So I deleted the voicemail and went to bed. I didn't want arguments or stress. I just wanted peace. The next morning was Thanksgiving. The air outside was cold and quiet, and everything felt calm. Lila and I slept a little longer than usual. When we woke up around 9 o'clock, the house felt warm and cozy. We decided to make breakfast together. We made fluffy pancakes and added chocolate chips and fresh strawberries on top. Lila was laughing while helping, and little bits of flour were everywhere, even on her nose. After breakfast, she wanted to watch the Thanksgiving parade on TV, so we sat together on the couch, wrapped in soft blankets. On the screen, colorful floats moved slowly, and happy music played. It felt peaceful, like a simple, perfect morning that didn't need anything fancy. At around 10 a.m., the doorbell rang. It surprised us because we weren't expecting anyone. I walked to the security camera and looked outside. There they were, my mom, my dad, my brother Daniel, and Alina. All of them were standing on my porch together like a serious meeting. My mom was holding a flower arrangement that looked very neat and expensive. My dad had a bottle of wine in his hand. They all looked nervous, like they didn't know what would happen next. I opened the door just a little bit, but kept the chain lock on. I didn't fully let them in. I asked, "What do you need?" My mom spoke first. Her voice was soft and sweet, very different from the angry voicemail. She said, "Sweetheart, we came to say sorry. We want you and Lila to come for Thanksgiving. We would really love to have you with us." I looked at her carefully and said, "I thought you wanted only fancy guests. Wouldn't Lila ruin that for you?" My mom's smile changed for a moment, like she didn't expect that question. Then she quickly said, "I was wrong. Of course we want our granddaughter there. It's a family holiday." I stayed calm and asked, "What about your rich guests? Won't they mind a child running around?" Before my mom could answer, Daniel stepped forward. He said, "Adrian Henderson called this morning. He specifically asked if you were coming. He really wants to meet you. He has been trying for months." Alina also quickly added, "And Victoria Montgomery sent a message. She is excited to meet you too. She even mentioned a board position." As they spoke, I watched their faces closely. It felt like they were not really talking about family. It felt like they were talking about business and status and important people. My mom's hands were shaking slightly as she held the flowers. She looked nervous, like she was afraid of losing something important. I said quietly, "Lila and I already have plans. We are staying home. We are going to eat pizza, watch movies, and tomorrow we will go to the animal shelter. It will be our special mother and daughter day." My mom quickly said, "But the dinner." I stopped her. I looked right at her and said, "The dinner where you said my daughter wasn't good enough to sit with your guests?" Everything became silent. No one spoke for a moment. Even the air felt still. Then I continued talking, still calm but firm. I said, "You have known me for 34 years. You raised me. And yet you never noticed what I was building. You never asked about my work. You only asked if I was earning enough or doing something normal. You never cared about what I was really doing with my life." My dad tried to defend himself. He said, "You never told us." I answered, "You never asked. That's the difference." Then I knelt down a little, so I could look directly at my mom's face. I wanted her to understand clearly. I said, "The problem is not just business or guests or rich people. The problem is that you looked at your own granddaughter and decided she was not important enough for your celebration. Not because she did anything wrong, but just because she is a child and might be inconvenienced." My mom whispered, "We made a mistake." I nodded slowly and said, "Yes, you did. But now you are not here because you suddenly understand. You are here because I am useful to you. Because people like Adrian Henderson want to meet me. Because having a successful daughter makes your life look better in front of others." Daniel looked uncomfortable and said, "It's not like that." But I replied, "It is exactly like that. If none of this had happened, if the news had not spread, you would all be sitting at your fancy dinner right now without thinking about us at all." Alina's eyes became wet with tears. She said softly, "We are really sorry." I said, "I believe you are sorry. But I think you are sorry because you got embarrassed. Not because you hurt Lila." My mom's voice broke a little. She asked, "So you are not coming?" I said clearly, "No. We are not coming. Not this year. Not until you understand that Lila is more important than any fancy dinner, any rich guest, or any social image." Then I started to close the door. Before closing it completely, I added one more thing. I said, "Oh, and Mom, you should know something. Adrian Henderson is actually one of my investors. He owns part of my company. So when you sit at dinner tonight and he asks where I am, you can tell him exactly what you told me, that my daughter was not good enough for your party." Then I closed the door completely and locked it. Through the window, I watched them stand there for a few seconds. No one spoke. My mom looked like she was going to cry. My dad gently put his arm around her shoulders. Daniel and Alina just stood there quietly, not knowing what to say. After a while, they slowly turned and walked back to their car. Lila came into the hallway wearing her pajamas. She looked up at me and asked, "Who was that?" I smiled and said, "Nobody important, sweetheart. Do you want pizza now?" Her face lit up immediately and she said, "Yes. Can we get the one with lots of cheese?" I laughed and said, "Yes, we can get whatever you want." That evening we stayed home together. We ate pizza, watched movies, and shared ice cream. Lila eventually fell asleep on the couch with her head resting on my lap. She looked peaceful and safe. I didn't move for a long time because I didn't want to disturb her. Later, I opened my laptop. I saw that news about my company was still spreading. People were talking about it everywhere, and more messages were coming in. My company was growing even more. There were interview requests and business emails, but I didn't feel like reading them right away. Then I saw one email from Adrian Henderson. It said he had heard I skipped Thanksgiving. He said he understood and didn't blame me. He said he was spending the evening with his own grandchildren, eating pizza and watching movies. He said fancy dinners were not important anyway. He also asked if I would like to talk next week about the board position he had mentioned. I smiled when I read it. It felt simple and kind, not complicated or fake. I closed my laptop and looked out the window. Snow was starting to fall gently outside. It looked soft and quiet, like the world had slowed down. My phone buzzed one more time. It was a message from Alina. She wrote that I was a great mother, and she was sorry for everything. She said they made me feel like I had to choose between family and respect. I typed back slowly. I didn't have to choose. The choice was always clear. Then I turned off my phone completely. I looked at Lila sleeping next to me and thought about everything. I realized that real success is not about money or important people or fancy dinners. Real success is sitting quietly with your child, keeping them safe, making them smile, and sharing simple, happy moments together. That night, I felt something peaceful in my heart. Not because everything was perfect in the world, but because in my small world, I had everything I truly needed.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी ही रूह का मका तू लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर दर्द का